Can you turn the fan on, please?
Nope.
You broke the fan again? You did. Yeah, you did. You broke it.
That's in your face, you fine ass bitch.
Hello. How is everybody doing? So how did everybody like Raw? It was supposed to be good, and it wasn't. My day was okay. Could have been better. But Raw was just so weird. It was a weird show. Let's just break this down. So when you look at Monday Night Raw from the beginning, it seemed like they were gonna, right? Well, let's start there. Like, why did they change Keith Lee's music?
Oh my God. Oh God.
His music was so terrible. I hate his music. I want my Limitless Keith Lee soundtrack back. I don't want this. I don't know what Vince McMahon is trying to do, but first of all, you should have let Keith Lee keep his chin strap. That's the first thing. And second, why are you making him wear, like, let him be him, okay? If Viscera fat ass can walk around, you know what? No, fuck it. If Viscera's big ass could be all over the place, yes.
I cut this like I cut any of them?
Yes.
Okay, I was just wondering because it's got this at the top. And it's like a seam.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
If Viscera's fat ass and Yokozuna and everybody else can walk around with their guts out, as well as Rikishi. Rikishi had titties.
Rikishi was wearing a sumo wrestler outfit with boots.
Why can't Keith Lee just be Keith Lee? Like, why did you change him? I'm so angry. You changed his music. Like, you took everything out. Now you got Keith Lee going up against Randy Orton at Payback. Obviously, because Drew is out.
That's what they say.
Like, you're pushing Keith Lee very, very quickly. I don't really have a problem with him being pushed fast. It's just, like, you're being very, very, very quick about this. Like, extremely fast. Like, unnecessarily quick. Like, I was done when I seen the KKK shit in the fan screens.
Wait, what?
If you was looking at fan screens during the show, then you truly were not involved in the show. You didn't care. I'm confused with what they're trying to do with Retribution because they ruined the match for no reason. First of all, I thought Retribution was supposed to be coming in to attack everybody. So I was very confused that they only attacked Rey Mysterio and Dominic and left Rollins and Murphy at the top of the key with nothing. They didn't do anything to them. They pretty much just left them there. And I was just like,
the fuck is this?
Okay, like, I don't even understand what's going on here. You're coming off of a decent pay-per-view with SummerSlam. Usually the Raws after SummerSlam are lit. Like, And this was not it. I was not happy with this. From the start of the show, Drew started the show off. He did okay. And they had a good thing with Randy Orton. I liked that part. That part kept me intrigued. Anyway. And then it just seems weird. It just seemed like it was just a weird ass shadow for Raw. It seemed okay in the beginning. It trekked along. It didn't seem long to me. It seemed fairly short. They had segments enough to keep you engaged. And when you're watching it, you're like, okay, cool. But it just was like, every time a new segment came on, I was just like, well, what's going on? It just seems like some of this stuff just did not fit. And then Aleister Black was turned heel today, which I'm fine with. I feel like that was necessary for Aleister. Can you put that fan on something that will actually blow? Is that okay? We didn't need to see another long Asuka-Sasha match. We saw it last night. So there was no reason to have another one. I don't understand why she had a rematch for the title in the first place. There are no rematches, so...
No, didn't they do away with the rematch clause?
Yeah, I was just confused. Like, I didn't like it. I wasn't happy with it. The 24/7 match was okay. It wasn't a bad match, actually. It was actually better than most of what we saw. I like the 24/7 match, but it didn't really move me. I thought Apollo Crews' segment was funny. He stepped on Bobby Lashley's foot to win. I thought that was clever. I don't see Sasha and Bayley dropping those tag team titles to Shayna and Nia. I don't understand where that came from at all. I'm very confused by that. I don't understand. I'm dead ass. Like, I don't understand. I didn't understand a lot of what happened on Raw today. I genuinely thought that Raw was going to be a very, very good show. And at first it was, but it was just... Did you say avocado mayonnaise? Ew. That's gross. It would be different if Nia wasn't attacking Shayna every 2 seconds. I was just like, okay. I don't... Of course. I don't see them dropping the title to Shayna and Nia. I don't see them staying a team. I see them breaking down. Like, it doesn't work. And if you were gonna, I feel like they should have been prepared for this. This is my problem. I feel like WWE was not prepared for Payback, and they're the ones who announced it like weeks ago. Payback was announced weeks ago. So I'm confused as to why they were so ill prepared for this pay-per-view if you announced it so early. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, why would you do this pay-per-view right after SummerSlam, knowing that you were not prepared for this particular show? Like, it just seems like you're not prepared. You are not prepared to put Payback on. And I don't understand. I've known about Payback for a while, so... That's not the issue. The issue is they're not prepared for their own shit. Like, it was like you knew specifically that Payback was coming up after SummerSlam. So why were you not prepared for this? Why was your Raw not planned out after SummerSlam? Why is everything feeling like you don't know what you're doing? Why does it feel like you're rushing? Now, I did see that Vince rewrote the whole show an hour before the show. I did. I knew it was going to be on Sunday. I was well aware of that 2 weeks ago. It was announced. They have been saying it. It had been all over the blogs, actually. That's how I knew about it, because I have to do research for the podcast, and I saw it. I knew that they were going to have Payback afterwards. They announced it about a week after I found out. It just seems like it would have sounded better to me to have Nia and Shayna go up against each other, and then you have Sasha and Bayley face the Riot Squad and the Iconics. Like, that made more sense to me. Raw was just out of whack. It was out of whack. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad either, but it just was out of whack, and it just seemed weird. It started off okay. It started off strong, actually, and I was like, okay, this isn't going to be bad. This is pretty decent. I don't really understand why they involved Keith Lee in that feud with him, but I guess it was to give Keith a strong showing, but it didn't hit right. They're fucking up, is my point. Like, they're fucking up royally, and I expected better. I demand better. They need to do better, because this isn't it. I'll watch NXT Wednesday, and definitely gonna watch SmackDown Friday, but this wasn't worth watching. Isn't that what the pay-per-view is called? Payback? You want revenge or retribution, pun intended, on what happened on the last pay-per-view? Sure, but they should have had it planned out. My thing is, I'm not upset about the matches. I'm upset that they did not have shit planned out. It is not set up so that it looks like everything is done and it's cohesive. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense, and it should. It should make sense. It should be cohesive. You should not be rewriting an entire show an hour before the show is set to start. You should have had your ducks in a row from last week. Last week you were aware of who was winning, who was losing, and what you were setting up for Payback. You were well aware of this. So there is no excuse for why your Raw after a very good SummerSlam, there's no reason why your Raw is so out of whack. There is no reason for that. There is absolutely no reason for that at all. So I'm just trying to understand why that Raw was so weird. It was just weird. And if Payback is set up to be a retribution, no pun intended, it's supposed to be your get back, it's just like, well, what are you doing? Because there's no reason for Sasha and Asuka to compete against each other again. I didn't need to see that in the Lumberjill match. I didn't need to see that. I was fine with it. The match was okay, but it was unnecessary. The rest of Raw was okay. It was pretty standard, but it just seemed like something was off. The flow was wrong. some, like, it just seems so weird. And then they had one Raw Underground segment, and it was just the Hurt Business being them. And it was just like, okay, so... I mean, honestly, they could have did the Lumberjill match with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. To be honest with you, they could have built on that, and they could have let Shayna Baszler and Nia finish out their feud that they pseudo started, have their shit finish out on at Payback, and let the tag teams who are actual tag teams go up against the tag team champions. Not create a tag team out of two rivals who truly don't want to be tag team champions. They want to be Raw Women's Champion. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It just seems like you're trying to build the stack. You're trying to stack the cards against Bayley and Bayley and Sasha, but you could have done that with Liv and Ruby and the Iconics. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the Iconics, but they are a tag team. And you could have just had Sasha and Bayley in a triple threat match for those tag team titles and drop the titles off between one of them and let them feud with it for a while, and then take those titles to NXT and let a team in NXT have them and let them stay in NXT for a little while. And you could have laid it out like that. That would set you up for the next 6 months. You would know where those tag teams championships are going, who has them, and what's going on with them. So you won't have to worry so much about what's going on with those titles. Sasha and Bayley are SmackDown wrestlers. Okay, they're SmackDown wrestlers. So there's no need for them to continue their feud on Raw. There's no need for them to even start their shit on Raw anymore. They can keep everything they're doing on SmackDown. Okay? What are you gonna do? Like, it just seems weird to drop those titles off to Shayna and Nia, and like, what? Let's move on. That Natalya and Mickie James segment with Lana. I was so glad when Mickie came out there and kicked that girl in her face. I was so glad she kicked that girl in her face so hard she came out her shoes. I said, yes, Mickie, get her. I'm like, how you gonna talk about her career ain't got nothing? Bitch, where your highlight reel at? What we gonna get? You kissing every man in WWE, bitch? What kind of highlight reel we gonna get from you? We not gonna get no highlight reel from you, Miss Lana Kane. The only highlight reel we gonna get from you is you keep getting your ass whooped in the ring, and one of you probably losing your wig in another. That's your highlight reel. Is you flashing your ass and titties on Instagram and your wig coming off when you face Naomi. That's the highlight reel I would put up there. Because if you gonna act like I'm a 6-time women's champion and I don't have no accolades. Meanwhile, no shade to Natalya, because y'all know I rep Natalya. But let's just keep it all the way funky. Okay? Natalya ain't no 6-time women's champion. I'm just saying. So if you're gonna talk about highlight reels, bitch, I'm just saying, let's just keep it all the way real. Talking about you couldn't find nothing. Well, we gotta look real hard for yours, Natty. I mean real hard. You know? Like, real hard. We gotta look real hard for yours. So let's just... That was a place you shouldn't have went. You and your little pageant queen bitch that you keep by your side. Like, y'all have to, y'all gonna have to, do something about that. I'm just saying, if you're gonna call a spade, then let's just do that. You kick that hoe out her shoe. I like that segment. That segment was funny. Now, Aleister Black turning heel on Kevin Owens, I liked because it was time. I agree. I think she does have a title reign left in her. Aleister Black turning heel on KO, I didn't have a problem with, because it was time. It was past time for Aleister to be Aleister. And I was tired of seeing one of the best superstars WWE has being regaled to this middle life and constantly in a feud that has nothing to do with him, just embroiled in this bullshit. Like, Aleister deserved a spot of his own, and even if it means he has to be a villain to do it, then so be it. I'm fine with that. Quite frankly, I don't like Lay Cool and I don't like the Iconics, so I could care less about either one of those teams. It's just me. I don't really care for either one of them. They're not necessarily my favorites, so that don't really matter to me to worry about Michelle McCool or Layla. I don't really care. But anyways, what else happened? Oh, Bayley and Shayna had a match. It would have been decent if Nia hadn't interrupted the match. I mean, and then it was so weird. Like, they had the match, and then they had the match and it was fine, and then Nia comes out there and attacks Shayna, and then Shayna and Nia somehow decide to just, come together, and I was just like, okay, what's going on here? Like, I'm like, what is this? And then they just turned on those two. I'm like, okay, well, temporary alliance. No, you come back from commercial, and then it's like, we're going to get those tag team titles. And I'm like, tag team? What do you mean? Like, then they announced that Shayna and Nia are going to compete for Sasha. Why do I keep saying Asuka? For Sasha and Bayley's tag team titles. I said, oh, okay. Alright, I guess. MVP still trying to recruit Cedric. I think Cedric gonna end up joining the Hurt Business. I see it happening. I can't not see it happen. It's probably gonna happen. I wouldn't, if I was Cedric, I wouldn't join the Hurt Business. But I mean, if I'm gonna go outside of kayfabe and just talk and just look at it from a perspective, like, Cedric could use the boost to be in the Hurt Business. It would make him at least be relevant on television. He would be a part of a faction. He would have time on TV. He would get something that he's owed and deserved for a very long time. And having MVP as your mouthpiece isn't that bad. So, outside of kayfabe, looking at it for a career change for Cedric, I wouldn't mind it. I want to see what he's capable of outside of this goody two-shoes, situation that he has going on now. I've seen a mean streak in Cedric, and I want to see what he's capable of with it. So if he joins the Hurt Business, I hate the fact that he would be a part of the Hurt Business, but I would still root for Cedric because I like Cedric. I do think Shayna Baszler should have got the title at WrestleMania. And I think it would have been fine. I see no reason for Shayna not to have the title. Anyway, what else happened today? Well, I agree with that. They didn't have to make them champion. But I understand the logic behind making Sasha Raw Women's Champion. I mean, y'all tuned in. You know, you watched. You understood what was going on. You were invested in what was going on. And we all watched it. You know what I'm saying? We all saw it. So I'm curious as to what they're going to do. Because after Payback, I don't think there's another pay-per-view until Night of Champions. But I don't even think they should squeeze in Night of Champions. I think they should skip it. I think they should skip it after Payback. Take a month. Because the next month will be what? September. So August, September, October. October is usually Hell in a Cell. So I don't think they should have another pay-per-view in September, but they should have one in October for sure. I don't think they're having Clash of Champions this year. They shouldn't if they do. They definitely shouldn't. Well, if it's in November, that's fine. I guess. It seems weird that they would have Clash of Champions. Who's doing Halloween Havoc? You think that NXT's doing Halloween Havoc? The way they're booking this, Nia and Shayna thing is weird. I don't know why they're booking them this way. I'm very confused on it. I don't get it. Is there a difference between Clash of Champions and Night of Champions? It sounds the same. No, it's the same pay-per-view. For the most part, they've been calling it Clash of Champions, but it used to be Night of Champions, and they've been calling it Clash of Champions. But usually, it's matches. All of the championships are defended. They're not like having champion versus champion. So it's the same pay-per-view. They just changed it. Okay. Alright. So what else happened? Dominic and Mysterio and Rey Mysterio's match against Seth Rollins and well, first of all, let's talk about Keith Lee's debut. So Keith Lee debuted against Randy Orton. He got a pretty decent promo, but like I said when I started this live, I don't like the fact that they changed his music and they switched up his gear, and I hate that. I hate every minute of it. I want Keith Lee back. I don't want Vince's version of Keith Lee. Like, I hate that. Yeah, but they didn't start Sheamus and Cesaro out fighting each other like the way they did Sheamus and Cesaro made sense though. Because they had a best of 7 or a best of 3 series. They fought, and then it came down to the two of them, like it was like a tie or whatever. I can't remember exactly what happened, but Mick Foley suggested that they be a team, that they might work better together as a team. And it was just like, okay, I don't mind Shayna and Nia being a team. That was never an issue. The problem is it doesn't make sense to us. So will it probably make sense down the line? Sure, because they're going to work together to be able to accomplish something. But the point is, when you book a story, you want the story to make sense from start to finish. You don't want to get involved in it. Like, nobody's going to be invested in the story if they can't understand it. So that's my issue with it, is that they did not take the time to put the necessary steps in motion so that everybody who's watching it actually cares about what they're watching. Because you're not going to be like, okay, this makes sense to me. All of us are sitting here like, what is going on? We're all asking the same question. We're all trying to figure this out. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be very, very simple. Please put your mask on. Get up and put your mask on.
I heard you too.
Thank you. Storyline, it still makes no sense. There's nothing wrong with Keith Lee's character. Why do you have to hit me? There's nothing wrong with Keith Lee's character. He's just not. I want his music to be what it was when he came out there, and I'm nitpicking because I really like Keith. I like Keith Lee, and I think that Keith Lee didn't need anything to be changed. And I was upset because I'm like, well, Shayna Baszler's ass came up. They didn't change a fucking thing about Shayna. They didn't change Lacey Evans' music. They didn't change Heavy Machinery's music. They didn't change anybody's music that came up as far as I know. Which I'm sure some of you guys will correct me if they did. But they didn't change anybody else's shit. So I was just trying to figure out why they changed Keith Lee's to this rock bullshit. I don't like it. So it wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't my favorite part. But for the most part, the night was just weird. It just felt so off. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, what is going on here? What are they doing? Let's go to Dominic Mysterio and the main roster stay changing what NXT characters in some type of way. I don't know about that. Because Heavy Machinery is still Heavy Machinery. The Viking Raiders, the only thing they changed about the Viking Raiders was their name. They went from the War Raiders to the Viking Experience to the Viking Raiders. And you got used to hearing them being called the Viking Raiders, so they left it there. Lacey Evans came up. She was Lacey Evans. Heavy Machinery came up. They were Heavy Machinery. They got keep their music, their entrance, everything. Nothing about them changed. And as far as I know, Drew McIntyre's shit didn't change either. Neither did Finn's. Finn's stuff came up. Nakamura's stuff came up. He was the same. It just seems odd that they would change Keith Lee like that. I don't understand it. Anyway, Dominic Mysterio and Rey Mysterio teamed up to go up against Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy. The match was cool. Dominic showed that he had some wrestling prowess. It was nice. I like Dominic in the ring. He did okay. He did. I give Dominic props. He was pretty decent. With time, Dominic will be great. But he's going to need time to develop and time to get better. The Retribution part at the end was confusing because Retribution normally attacks everyone, and they pretty much left Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins in there and didn't do anything to them, didn't chase them off, didn't put them away, didn't do anything. I'm just like, what is this? What is going on? Like, I didn't like it. I'm like, okay, so you're not going to do anything to Rollins and Murphy. You're just going to let them stand there and watch while you're talking about this is my house. Two people who are in your house that you claim is yours are standing in the middle of the foyer, and your ass is just like, yeah, this is my house. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Bianca had a match with Riot Squad against the Iconics and Zelina Vega. Bianca won as usual. I'm not surprised. Montez had a match with Angel Garza today. I thought that match was funny. It was okay. It was a good match for Montez. The funny part was Ivar coming out there stealing that girl. Why is she there? Can somebody explain to me why this lady is there? I just want to understand why she's there. I don't quite understand why that girl from The Bachelor is even a part of Raw or a part of any storyline with any of these wrestlers. I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. It just seems so weird to me that they went and found her and was like, we need you for these particular segments. I'm like, you were already using Charlie. Like, just use Charlie. You know what I'm saying? like Just use Charlie. Charlie's there. Let her be the one, you know? Pay her a little extra. Like, why are you bringing in other women from other shows that I don't watch? Like, I know I can't be the only one who feels like I think most people who watch wrestling don't necessarily watch The Bachelor. Am I the only one who feels like that? Like, it don't seem like a wrestling fan's cup of tea when it comes to, you know, quality television that they would actually enjoy. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Okay. Anyway, that was it. Oh, Raw Underground, I mentioned that before, but that was pretty much it. There wasn't really much to talk about. They talked about Roman a lot. Like, they gave Roman a couple times on the show and, you know, pretty much like basked in his glory. You know, they was like, look, Roman Reigns is back. I'm like, Roman ain't even on your show, bro. Like, what are you doing? I don't know when Undisputed Era will get called up. And as of right now, they should go to SmackDown if they get called up. No, I don't think Roman's gonna win Sunday. If they're having a pay-per-view in September, no. The Fiend is gonna retain on Monday, and I think he's gonna end up pinning Braun Strowman. Strowman's gonna take that pin. Strowman's gonna take the pin. You don't want to ruin Roman's get back. You want Roman to have some get back, but it is very early to put that belt on Roman, and they're gonna have to do something because I would either, like, you, if you were gonna do it, to me, if you were gonna do it, I would have left the belt on Braun. And the reason why I say that is because I want to see what this version of Roman would do up against the monster like Braun Strowman. So Braun Strowman is supposed to be unhinged, right? So we've seen what Braun Strowman is capable of up against Roman before, and it was pretty brutal. And Roman was a baby face at that time. So I would want to see what Roman is capable of in this tweener space that he's in right now. I would prefer that to watching The Fiend toy with Roman Reigns, if that makes sense. I don't know, because I'm kind of torn with that, because then I'm curious as to what The Fiend would do with Roman, because if we're going to go by, I don't think he's going to win it. I really don't. I think that The Fiend's going to eat that pin. Something's going to happen in that match. The Fiend is going to end up taking that belt back. He's going to keep that belt, and that Braun is going to eat that pin. That's just what I think. I think that Braun is going to eat that pin for sure. Because they would need to have a reason to go from Clash of Champions to Hell in a Cell. But I think Bray Wyatt's going to retain that belt, and I don't want to see a repeat of no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Braun Strowman. I don't want to see a cinematic match like they did with John Cena. Roman doesn't have... Well, he does. I mean, he has a lengthy career when you really sit back and think about it. But I just don't want to see that. Well, I mean, we've seen worse. You know what I'm saying? We've seen worse. Like, not even trying to be funny. I just don't think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to make it a little bit simpler than that. Like, Braun is going to be the one to eat the... You know, I don't know why they changed this thing. I don't know. Eyes are watering. I have no clue. Oh, it hurts. I just wasn't feeling Raw today. And I'm so glad I didn't record it, because I wouldn't have had no material to give you. None. It wasn't it. It wasn't it. And I don't know what they were thinking or what they thought they were doing, but Of course you didn't. I don't think a lot of people did. I'll get to your question in a minute. Do you think at Survivor it's gonna be Drew versus Roman? I honestly don't know. One would hope that they would fix this so that it makes sense. But it sounds to me, I'm going to say this, and some of you might not believe me, but it looks to me like they're rushing and pushing Keith Lee up there so fast to get Keith Lee to that title first. Somehow they're going to take that belt off of Drew and put it on somehow they're going to get that belt off of Drew and put it on Keith Lee and have him going up against Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. And of course, with whoever is champion, which will probably be Karrion Kross at the time, Karrion Kross being champion if they decide to do Survivor Series with all three brands this year, which I don't doubt. In my mind, I see that happening. I see Keith Lee somehow gaining this title because they've pushed him into this feud so quickly. It seems weird that they would do that right now. Something tells me that Keith Lee is going to be your next WWE champion, and he's going to be the one in that battle with Roman and Karrion Kross, and you're going to have that big match going on. that would probably be a bigger match for Survivor Series than anything. And I'm sure that they would prefer that would be in front of an audience. But given the fact that we're still stuck in this COVID situation, I highly doubt that. I think it'll still be at the Thunderdome, and it would still be epic even if it happened at the Dome. But that's what I think. That is where my mind went. The moment that I saw Keith Lee going up against Randy Orton, I'm like, okay, somehow Randy Orton is going to get that title off of Drew, and then it's going to be Randy versus Keith Lee, and Keith Lee is going to get that title off of Randy somehow, and he's going to end up champion by Survivor Series. I don't know for sure how that's going to happen. I am not sure if it's going to happen, but that's how it's working out in my mind. That's just where I'm at. Do you overall like Braun's title reign? I think Braun was thrusted into a situation that he was not prepared for. And I don't think WWE was prepared for it either. Roman went down. Simple as that. Roman had to protect himself and his family and his wife. And he knew that WWE was going to continue rolling as long and as often as they could. And he could not risk himself being at the Performance Center and them possibly not, taking all the necessary precautions as they should with masks and everything like that. That stuff did not implement until later. So Roman would have been at very high risk in the Performance Center with people coming in there with fevers and hanging around other people who could possibly have COVID. It was a lot going on. So for him, he was doing what was best for himself and his family. But that left the WWE title scene vacant. So they had to do what was necessary to protect the championship and also keep trucking forward, which was to thrust Braun Strowman into title contingency and be champion. Bray was out at the time too. His wife was giving birth, so him and Bray Wyatt were there. They had their back and forth. They took a small break in their feud, if you recall, and then all of a sudden it comes back and it hits full force. So it didn't make sense to me. At the time, it made sense to make Braun Strowman the champion. He was the only other viable superstar on the roster outside of maybe The Miz to make the champion and to make him have a possible feud with other people. They didn't really set him up well. And to be honest, he didn't really have a lot of competitors to be set up well against. They could have set up Shinsuke Nakamura or Cesaro or somebody and given him a true fight, but they didn't do that. They kind of fizzled out on Braun and focused him solely on Bray Wyatt, and then they switched it up and fed Miz and Morrison to him in this kind of a joke type of match. Then they moved from there back to Bray Wyatt. The story with Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman was damn near perfect. The problem was that Braun Strowman did not effectively act out he didn't act it out properly. And I would highly recommend for Braun Strowman to take acting lessons. That is not a joke. That is just pure advice. He needs it, because if you're going to be a monster, then you need to be able to portray the monster aura. You need to have that, besides just breathing hard and screaming in the microphone and being menacing in person. You've got to put fear in people. I would high key suggest that you take your keys from Kane, because Kane was a character that was menacing in person and menacing on television. He was not someone that you would want to run into on normal days. So as far as Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt's feud goes, it was okay, but it could have been better. I expected more of Braun Strowman, but he did not rise to the occasion. So I was disappointed. I was disappointed in his match yesterday, and I'm not looking forward to this triple threat simply because I don't think Braun Strowman will deliver. I think he's going to be a catalyst to whatever is going on between Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns. And he's just going to be overshadowed and eaten up. And if I was him, I would go sit at home for a little while. I've been working throughout the pandemic. I've been holding WWE down. And, for me, it would be a situation of I stepped up when you couldn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've got to make this your own story. And if you can't do that, then you need to step back and get out of the way. That is the only thing that I can say to Braun Strowman. But as far as his reign goes, I think he did the best he could with what he had. But he just could not. He didn't have the acting chops to stand up against Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt completely overshadowed him. And he just didn't deliver. And that's just the way it is. It might make Roman versus The Fiend in Hell in a Cell. I'd rather have Keith Lee with the U.S. title first. Who would win? Y'all have to trust me with what I'm saying. That's what they wanted this shit since last year. Okay, so sorry if I'm reading y'all comments late. I got about 9 minutes left. Brock's not coming back until COVID is more under control or a vaccine. Like Kayla getting COVID twice and still her going out everywhere. If Brock comes back, he just needs to feud with a title. We know he's a beast. He doesn't need to destroy upcoming talent to prove himself. We get it. I'm sick of Retribution interfering matches. Do you think someone will show their face? No. It wouldn't be smart. The whole point of Retribution is to not know who they are. I think once the leader is revealed, you will know who he is. Maybe. But I think they should hold off on revealing, but they dropped the ball with Retribution today, and that was the only time I thought that Retribution being on Raw was absolutely pointless. It was the only time I thought that Retribution attacking people on Raw was pointless. Okay, good storylines require time. Agreed. Yes, Braun is not a good actor. Wrestling fans now consume shit too quickly and get bored, even though that's what they asked for. That is 100% true. I think that people sometimes are rushing things so quickly. But I think when it comes to Keith Lee and this title in this thing, I think they had been planning for Keith Lee to possibly be champion anyway, and they put the title on Drew, and they were supposed to have a step thing going, but all that got knocked out of the way once COVID-19 hit. So you had a whole situation rolling, and they had a whole plan, and it got messed up. But I think that Vince panicked, and he shouldn't have. He should have went with the original script. If it was better than what we saw today, he should have left that script alone. He ruined the SummerSlam Raw. He ruined it, and usually they do extremely well after SummerSlam, and I have a feeling if they would have been in front of a real crowd, this shit would have got crickets. People can hardly appreciate long-term storytelling anymore. That is my point. But the problem with Braun and Bray's long-term story was Braun. And it was because he could not convey what needed to be conveyed. If you were going to be snapping, we needed to see you start to break. We never got the chance for that. It was like you came out of the damn swamp, disappeared for a week, and then you pop up, you're on TV, breathing all hard in the camera, and it's just like, oh, Jesus, I'm trying to ride for you, but I can't when you're not giving me anything to work with. It wasn't good. It just wasn't good. I will run down the street naked if I'm right about the leader. Oh, my God. I cannot. Happy birthday, Don. It's Don's birthday. Happy birthday. Socialite King's birthday was this weekend, too. So, happy belated birthday to Socialite King. I did tell him happy birthday on social media before. But it is Don's birthday, and Don is my champion. He's my promo king. And there will be a rematch for their promo battle, so I have to try and work that out for them at some point. But yeah, happy birthday, Don. I hope you have a good day When do you think the right time would be for Otis to cash in? Don't even start now. I think Otis's cash in should be a failed cash in. I firmly believe Dijakovic is in Retribution. I refuse to say that he is not in Retribution. He is my pick for the guy. Nicole has another pick, but I'm not going to spoil that because she messed me up yesterday when we did AT2's broadcast for him. She messed me up, and I was just like, I truly hate her for this. 100% hate her for this. But her pick is so on. Like, if it's true, she truly is dead on all the time. And I was just looking at it and I'm like, why though? Like, I need you to have a story to explain why this person is the leader of Retribution. But it is plausible. It does make sense. So I'm not going to spoil it because that's Nicole's thing. And I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to take that away from her. I'm not going to do that. But it was a really good pick. And it was just something very offbeat. And I'm just like, oh my God. No, Mandy Rose is a babyface. She will stay a babyface. She's not turning. Here's what I think is going to happen with Mandy. I think Mandy's going to be the next person to compete for Bayley's title. I also think Mandy could possibly end up being SmackDown Women's Champion very soon. I also think that Mandy will end up battling Sonya when she comes back again. And Sonya will then take that belt off of Mandy. To me, that makes more sense than to have Sasha with the belt at SummerSlam. At WrestleMania. Because they'll still both be on the same show. And Mandy's just going to be a face for a while. You're going to see Mandy as a face for a minute. I don't think her and Otis are going to be together as a thing. But Mandy's going to be a face for a while. Sonya has obviously decided to shed the Sonya Deville persona, and she's going to come back as something else. When she does come back, I wouldn't use my real name. I would go by something else. The way you've been campaigning for Alexa Bliss, I don't see how you can be mad about Mandy possibly being champion. Just saying. That's just what I think. Doesn't mean it's true, because I've been wrong a lot lately. But that's just what I think. I'm about 95% sure about Keith Lee though. I see that happening. I think that if they do have a match at Clash of Champions, like, I see. Well, Mandy can wrestle. I won't say that Mandy can't wrestle, but I think something is holding Mandy back. But Mandy has wrestling skill. She proved that at SummerSlam this week. It wasn't 100% great, but she did a very good job for her first really big match, especially after what she's done, what's happened to her and Sonya. Like, I really liked the way Mandy pulled out and performed. She did the best she could, but I think that she just needs just a little bit of work. Like she something is holding her back, and Dawn and Nicole are right. She's not as physical as she could be or as she should be, but I give Mandy a lot of flack, and I have in the past, but I've I remember when Mandy first debuted, and Mandy was good. I just wish she wouldn't be held back so. I'll be back.